extravaganza.
Woo! Absolutely. This is a Thanksgiving special. So excited. We got quite the show for you guys tonight. We got Gene Ronco from Stanhope, New Jersey coming on at 8:10. Former Mayor-elect in Stanhope defeated a rhino last May, won the general in November. He's coming on tonight to talk about his big win in the state of the culture war within this country. But Timo put up a great point in Brian Hines' show. He said, the Egg Bowl. So, Timo, Thanksgiving, we moved it to third Wednesday today to make sure everyone could enjoy their Thanksgiving, and we don't want to compete with the NFL or the Egg Bowl. We got Ole Miss taking on Texas A&M, or no, sorry, Mississippi State. Not as an A&M.
Yeah.
What do you think happens,
Mississippi
Timo?
State.
What do you think happens,
Egg
Timo?
Bowl. Playing for the golden egg.
What happens, Timo? What happens? Tell me.
Ole Miss takes it, no doubt. But
really,
it's still the Egg Bowl, and there will be a battle. That's the way that game works. It's just like the Iron Bowl that's coming up Saturday between Auburn and Alabama. Most people would say Alabama's going to win the game, and I have a tendency to lean that way myself. But Hugh Freeze is the head coach at Auburn now, and he has done really well this year, better than most folks expected him to do. And I expect he'll have his Tigers ready to do battle when Alabama rolls down on the plains of Auburn.
That's a huge line, Timo. 14.5, I believe the line at for the Auburn game. I think Auburn covers it. I mean, I don't think Auburn's a strong team. They got fucking massacred last week by New Mexico. So I don't know how good Auburn really is, but you made a great point. This is not the average game. This is the Iron Bowl. As far as tomorrow goes, Mississippi State, I think.
Yeah, I got to tell you now, the fact is, having grown up where I've grown up, I've watched the Iron Bowl closely all my life, and I can just tell you, it really doesn't matter what each team has done throughout the season when it comes to the Iron Bowl. They hate each other, and it's a whole different scale than you've ever seen anywhere in any other rivalry. I mean, if you haven't lived down here, you don't understand it.
Yeah.
That's just all there is to it.
Oh, for sure.
Now, you have to have lived in Alabama to understand the Auburn and Alabama rivalry.
Right. Absolutely.
That's all there is to it. You can't understand it any other way.
Absolutely. And so as far as the Egg Bowl goes, Timo, I think Mississippi State takes the victory tomorrow. I know Ole Miss is a powerhouse. I understand that. But I think Mississippi State, this is a big game for them. They've ended each of their last 13 seasons in a bowl game. They lose here tomorrow. That ain't happening. This is a must-win for Mississippi State. And I believe it's at Mississippi State. So it's a home game. They're a home underdog by double digits. Okay? I want to say it's double digits. So it might be 10.5. So, I think Mississippi State with the points, and maybe they even outright win. I mean, what do you think about that pick? I know you like Ole Miss, but can you see a world where Mississippi State wins?
I don't see a Mississippi State win at all.
Really? Not one bit.
So they've got an interim coach, and there's all kind of turmoil in the team right now. People are trying to figure out what they're going to do, if they're staying or going, or what's the story. I think it's incredibly hard to get this team ready to take on Ole Miss this week. I think Ole Miss takes it walking away.
Yeah.
I do. I think that the offense of Ole Miss is just too much, and Mississippi State can't handle it.
No, for sure. For sure.
And
for sure.
I'm saying that as somebody who's generally a Mississippi State person. But just looking at the two teams, it's Ole Miss all the way.
Now, who's Tennessee got this week? Georgia, is that correct? Or did they play Georgia last week? Who did?
Yeah, we had Georgia last week. Don't rub it in.
Who does Tennessee play this week? Vanderbilt?
Vanderbilt, our old in-state rival.
They got to win that game, right? I mean, we got to win that game.
Yeah, we got to win that game.
Is Tennessee Bowl eligible? Is Tennessee Bowl eligible? They are, right?
Well, we've got 7 wins. This will be our 8th win. If we get it, we'll be 8-4.
There's a lot of games Friday. Did you know there's games on Friday? I had no idea.
Yeah, there's games all weekend.
There's a lot of games Friday, which is
great. And then next week, we've got the SEC championship game.
SEC, we'll get to that next week, but that's going to be interesting. Well, and we got the ACC. That's going to be quite the game. I mean, Florida State, they got that Jordan Travis is out for the season. Do you think that hinders them? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't know how that much that's going to affect them. I'm sure it's going to affect them some, but I kind of see Florida State still taking the ACC championship.
Without Jordan Travis. Wow, that's a call and a half right there. I bet against Louisville last week. I bet Miami last week, Timo. Miami was doing great all game.
I called Louisville last week. That was my call.
You did. You did. Miami. Now, this is the big game this week. Shout out to Chuck Nagel this week. Ohio State versus Michigan. What do you think, Timo? What happens, Timo? Tell me real quick. Get into it. What happens? Tell us. I'm excited.
Well, I don't think Ohio State is ever as good as they claim to be, but I know Michigan is never as good as they claim to be, and I expect Ohio State to win it.
Wow, Timo. Sam, the co-founder of this network, must be hanging himself right now. I hope he didn't hear that. He's probably hanging himself right now. He's putting the house on Michigan on Saturday. I like Michigan too. I mean, I think Ohio State's very hyped, overhyped. I think that they beat Penn State, but Penn State's overhyped. I think this is a year for college football and even for the NFL. I know you don't watch the NFL, where truly anybody can beat anybody. That's what I think. You see these games with Ohio State and Maryland, Ohio State, Rutgers. They're close games to the very end. Then the good teams, the cream rises to the crop. But do you see these games, right? They're usually pretty close until the end.
On any given Saturday.
Absolutely, Timo. Now, I think I'm gonna be so sad, Timo, when there's no more college football to talk about. I remember the first time we talked about college football on this show. It was Florida Gators playing the Utah Utes, and I was like, "Go Florida, go Florida!" And you liked Utah. Utah won. Now Utah's one of my teams. I do like Utah. I bet on them pretty frequently. I think they're a great team. I'll have to get into my picks with you later, but what's your pick of the week?
I pick Alabama to win the Iron Bowl.
By 14.5?
Yeah.
Wow, so you think they beat them by 2 whole scores?
I think they can do it. I think that Alabama's going to beat Georgia in the SEC championship.
Oh, I agree with you there. Do you think Alabama, before Gene comes on, we got a minute before Gene comes on, do you think Alabama has a chance to win the national championship this year?
Alabama's always got a chance if they're in the running. And if they're in the running, they'll have a chance because, being a Tennessee fan, I hate to admit it, but the fact is that Saban will have his boys ready, and if they don't make it, nobody will.
Absolutely, I like Nick Saban. I think Nick Saban's a good coach. I know you probably you respect Saban as a Tennessee fan. You respect Saban, right?
I don't have a choice but to respect him because he's gotten results, and that's the way it is. I don't have the same respect for Kirby Smart, on the other hand, you might say. Even though he's gotten results, I don't respect him like I do Nick Saban.
Absolutely. Nick Saban's, I think, is one of the greatest coaches we have. And I think, he doesn't fuck around. And I want to introduce everyone to another guy who doesn't fuck around. Gene Ronco. Gene, Timo, you guys are going to go through it. And I'll hop back. I'll have a hop back on at the end of the show and let you guys through it. So, Timo, take it away. Gene, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Paul. Good to be here. Hey, Timo.
Hey, Jane. Welcome to the Talking with Timo show. Glad to have you. And congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Glad to have you. I think that's just great. Whenever a Republican wins in New Jersey, that's just wonderful to me.
It is.
New Jersey is a
we do have
state that I have a hard time figuring out, mostly because I'm a Southern boy. But it's I've been there several times to the Garden State. I've been to the parts of the state where it does look like a little countryside. I expect it to be all cityfied, but it's not.
Yeah, we have a good
But
combination.
But the last time I was there, I was surprised to find out I couldn't pump my own gas. It was against the law for me to self-serve gas pump, So that's
sometimes they let you. They'll let you pump your own gas. Sometimes it all depends. And I mean, in New Jersey, it is definitely a mixture of we have our cities, we have our suburbs. I live in Northwest New Jersey, which is a pretty Republican area. I live in Sussex County, so we're one of the reddest counties in New Jersey. So I'm happy to to be part of living where I live, since we at least have the ability to keep our Republican values, our conservative values, and share it amongst our our residents.
And that's excellent, because I was reading up on you, studying a little bit about you today, and I noticed that you've been very active in your community for a long time now, especially working with the kids and in schools and coaching and being on the school board, being on the city council, and now you're mayor.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim.
You're the top kingpin of the town now.
Yeah,
I
actually
think it's because the people in your town appreciate the efforts you make. I hope you'll continue to do the good work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's I raised all my children here, so when they were younger, I was very involved in their sports, and also I served on the board of education. So I feel it's important to to be involved in our children's lives, and also to give back to our communities, right? I mean, you can do it in different ways. You can volunteer your time. Some people donate money. Some people can afford to do both. But I think it's important to contribute to your community and to help these kids, mentor them, lead by example, and teach them good things, so that when they grow older, they can in turn give back to their community and their children, and help out around doing whatever they need to do. So I think it's I always think it's important, and I actually take over as mayor in January. So I'm currently still on the council, but as of January, I'll get sworn in at our reorg meeting, and I'm looking forward to that. And to your point, definitely, I'm blessed to work with a really good council members that I work with within the community, and we have a really good town that I'm part of here. We're about 3,500 or so residents, so we're a smaller town, but the town really gets together when anyone is in need, whether if they some lost their house to a fire.
Your town's only about 3,500 people. Is that correct?
Correct.
It's the same size town I grew up in.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In rural Georgia. So, my town growing up, I mean, during the day, you might see all 3,500 people running around town, because Bremen was the hub of all business in our county at the time. Most everybody worked in our town. But at 5 o'clock, everybody went home, and the streets were rolled up, and it was quiet, and people went to bed. It was a quiet, peaceful town. And we had a small high school. I think my graduating class only had 60 people in it.
Oh, wow. That's definitely. So we our town is part of a regional high school. So it's Stanhope, Netcong, and Byram together. They go to a regional high school. So it helps, bring a little bit more diversity into the school, having, folks from 3 different towns, and, just helps for different types of academics or athletic types of things that they may compete with. So it's, but it's still, even as a regional high school, it's still not that large.
but that's great. I mean, that's great for the kids. It really
Yep,
is.
it is
And
definitely.
small towns are the best. They really are.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I grew up in a larger town in Bergen County down in Lyndhurst, and my parents still live there, and it was a great place to grow up. And but it was definitely much larger than where I live now, where I've raised my children, and it's still a good community. But I definitely like the small town feel. Like, as I mentioned, it's good because you kind of know a lot of the people just when for being involved. You see them at ShopRite, you see them walking the dog, and everyone's very friendly, and it's a very tight knit community.
Absolutely. And I noticed that you were planning on enhancing communications with your
Correct.
community, and you mentioned about keeping longer office hours to make
Yep.
yourself available to people if they just want to stop in, poke their head in down at City Hall and speak to you, which is great.
Yes.
That's the way it is in my town, because it's a small town and we know everybody.
Absolutely.
I've known everybody since 1963. So, it's that kind of place. You can just poke your head in and stop in and say hello to anybody. And
Yeah, it is.
if you've got a gripe or a complaint, you can poke your head in and say so.
Yeah, we have the folks that work at Borough Hall full time. Whether it's our administrator, our clerk, our assistant clerk, all of the people that work down there, they're all very friendly and very serviceable to the community. But I felt that in today's day and age, it really doesn't cost much to proactively communicate, and you can often prevent a lot of unnecessary issues or confusion just by making yourself available, so people can come and voice their concerns, ask questions, provide suggestions. Combination of that with using different types of social media to get the message out. We have a Facebook group for our community. We have our website. We have various different means that we can use to keep in touch with folks, and I think it's important to leverage all those and always keep people informed. So it's definitely something that I ran on, and I plan on working with the rest of the council to implement in the coming year.
Yeah, I think that you're on a spot because as mayor, I think it's important to communicate, especially in a small town, with the people, and
Yes.
because people do feel a tighter knit society in a small town, and they really expect that kind of a relationship. They look at you less like a mayor and more like a neighbor.
Exactly.
I mean, I know when I was a kid, we had a local cafe, and every day at the cafe at 9 a.m., you could go in and you could find all the local businessmen sat around the same table taking a coffee break. And the mayor would always come in and talk to them and sit at the table, and they'd all have coffee and discuss the city's business and what they need to be doing and what needs to happen. And I, as a child at the time, tagging along with my dad, I got to sit in and watch most of the town's business be taken care of right there at that coffee table. And
Yep.
It was great. We don't have that kind of thing nowadays, 50 years since, but it was great as a kid. I really enjoyed that, getting to see the men of the town get together and discuss the business climate and the school and what needs, if anything at the school was needed, if they needed to contribute anything to help the kids at school or whatever. It was just great.
Yep. Yeah, it's good having an informal setting like that, where people feel comfortable, and that's kind of why I felt it was important to do the office hours, because we do have meetings twice a month where people can come and speak and voice. But I think I want to give people the opportunity outside of that formal setting just to come down, sit down and talk to me about whatever they want to talk about. If it's a problem, if it's a suggestion, or maybe they're just want to talk about the baseball game that happened the previous night. I'm happy to talk to them about anything, and I think it's important to to build those relationships and, build trust. And like I mentioned earlier, communicating and being proactive doesn't really cost anything but a little bit of your time, but it goes a long way to building trust.
Well, I was very impressed with your agenda, and I'm proud that we've got a Republican in New Jersey to help keep that state turning red. And fortunately, the Joe Biden administration is helping more places turn red as everybody realizes what a catastrophe he is.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, you see just in the few years since he's been in office, and I think that I think the Democrats aren't doing him any justice. Keep continuing to throw. He obviously has some mental issues. He's forgetful and can't even, speak intelligently most of the time. But outside of all that, when you look at how we have open borders, when you look at, what he did to our, us being energy independent to now, once again, having to import, energy, whether it's oil or other things. And I think that when you look at inflation, you look at our interest rates, that, yeah, they may have come down slightly recently, but, he's killed our economy. He's killed our energy independence. He's, killed our sovereignty with allowing, I think the last thing I read was something about between 7 and 8 million people have come into our country across the border without going through, the due process. You have all different types of people, whether they're, gang members, it could be some terrorists, they could be carrying disease. And if they want to come to the country, I have no problem with them doing it, but, do it the right way. Go through the legal process to become a citizen. And, don't just, flood our borders and our border states, which are, have to deal with the vast majority of this, which is unfortunate.
Absolutely right. I read in the news about how in New York City, the demand for housing has risen 254% in the last year. And all of that is because of illegal immigrants pouring into the city. And, that is why housing prices are so high in the city now, because there's excess demand for it. And so all the residents end up having to pay out of their pocket because of these people that aren't even from here have poured into the city.
Absolutely. And not only that, Timo, is that, we've seen here in New Jersey,
it's a sanctuary for other people, but residents.
Exactly. I mean, when you think about our veterans, our homeless, it's disgusting how they don't take care of the people, that are our own citizens that, pay taxes, have served our country, and how they just continue to use our taxpayer dollars to fund, for all these illegals. And look, at the human level, I don't want to see anyone suffer, but, I think it's important to protect our borders, from I look at them as invaders, right? And I think that we're not spending enough of our own tax dollars that we tax our American citizens on helping our own country. And we send it all over the world, the different parts of the world, whether it's Ukraine or other different areas. When you look at how much money we're sending out every year, right, in foreign aid and other types of things, and you look at, just within the United States,
borrowing money to give it away.
Exactly. And what I've always said is, if you think about, just the hundreds of billions of dollars that have gone out, right, to other countries, and I have no problem helping countries if we can, but let's help Americans first. And one of the kind of really crazy things I throw out there at people when I talk to them sometimes is, if we gave every American citizen $1 million, right, it'd still be less than 1/2 of $1 billion. And that money, think about it. If you or I got $1 million, we could pay off our mortgages or whatever, our cars with student loans. The money would go back into our own country, right? They could tax it again. It would go back into our economy. And, the argument is, well, that would raise inflation. Well, where inflation's going up anyway, because they're printing the money but they're sending it to another country. I'd rather see, our country people get, and it's a crazy example, but I say it for the effect.
But at least it'd
right?
be invested here.
Exactly. It's I say it for the effect just to kind of show people how much money is going out, and if we just took a fraction of that and gave it back to the American citizens, what they could do for it to, help themselves. It can help the homeless, it can help people get out of debt. They talk about debt forgiveness and stuff, right? And all these other things. Like, we shouldn't be requiring people who didn't go to school or who have gone to school and paid their own debt to pay other people's student loans. That's not the American way, right? The American way is all about, you have the freedom to be as successful as you possibly can be, but we shouldn't be forcing people to give, their hard-earned money to people just because they made bad decisions about where they were going to go to school and what, subjects they chose to take.
Yeah. I mean, the way I see it is the only role of the government when it comes to business is to say, here's the playing field. Now go train up and get on it and play your heart out and score as much as you can.
Yep.
These are the rules everybody's got to play by. Go be a success. That's it.
Exactly. I agree.
If you
Totally.
fail, you fail. If you succeed, wonderful.
Yep.
I say that as a former entrepreneur myself. I've been in business for myself. I've been in business with my family. I've been in business for myself. I've even gone bankrupt trying to do my own business. 2008 wiped me out. So it was start all over again from scratch, and
yep.
That's hard to do, but it's what I chose to do. And I'm glad I did, even though I didn't make it because, economically things turned against me. So, it's all right.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. You took the risk, but you also accepted the consequences. But at the same time, by taking those risks, you also benefit from, the opportunities and when you are successful. And that's, like I said, that's what America's all supposed to be about. Freedom. You have the freedom to make those decisions for yourself and to gain as much or lose as much as depending upon, your effort and, what you put your time and invest your money and your activities into.
Yeah. But, it was like this, when the Great Recession hit, I was hurt and I didn't get a bailout. I wasn't GM. I wasn't big enough for a bailout.
No, I hear you.
So I just had to fend for myself the best I could. And what I learned is if you're a business owner and you have to go out of business, even though you've been paying unemployment insurance for yourself and everything, guess what? Ain't no unemployment benefit for you.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely something to be aware of. Like if you are into business for yourself, for sure. Knowing what some of those other risks are and other things so that you can plan for them.
Yeah, the risks are long, but the payoff is huge. And being your own boss is just the most wonderful thing in the world. So if anybody's ever thinking about it, they should never be afraid to take the risk because the reward is wonderful. You can't beat it with a stick, and you should never be afraid of it. I can remember the time that I spent trying to make the decision whether or not I really wanted to go out on my own and take all the risk. It was a scary moment trying to make that decision of whether or not I'd be able to make it and still feed my family at the time. But I made it, and I succeeded for quite a while before, what the Great Recession hit, and I was just caught blindsided. I didn't see it coming.
Yeah, I don't think most people didn't see it, Tim. I mean, when you think about like how all that went down, I mean, I remember when I was younger and talking to my parents, my grandparents, and stuff, and real estate was always a very secure thing, right? So you could buy your home and you knew that over time and unless something crazy happened, it would appreciate in value. And I know I just bought my home right before the crash. So I bought it when the market was very high. And then, within a year to 18 months, I lost close to $200,000 of value in my home when it crashed. So it was a bad timing for me. And it was something that, we haven't really seen in our country outside of maybe like during the Great Depression type or we've always had some economic challenges and swings, but nothing as bad like that we saw in 2008.
Yeah, it was even worse for me because I knew better. Having been a stockbroker in my previous career, I knew the risks of real estate, and that is it's illiquid.
Yep.
With stocks or bonds, it's an open market all the time. You can call any time and liquidate it and get out of it. Can't do that with real estate.
No.
If it starts going down, you're stuck with it until you can move it.
Exactly.
And there's your risk. And I knew that. It still bit me because the truth is I had never seen real estate go down like that. I'd seen slow markets, but I had never seen it go down like that, 20, 30% or more.
Yep. Exactly. It was like unprecedented, like I said, other than, maybe you have to go back to, the Depression era when you've seen with the market and pretty much a lot of things in the economy crash. But real estate has always been pretty consistent. Like you said, it ebbs and flows, but it never really has nosedive like that.
Yeah. I mean, you always believe if I got equity in my house, I'm good.
Yep. But we're seeing, you mentioned earlier about New York and, just the influx. And what's funny too is that a lot of people have left New York, businesses as well as individuals. I know we've seen a lot of people from New York come to New Jersey, even within my, as far out where I live in Northwest New Jersey. We get a lot of people, new people have been coming in either from New York or from, the areas right around New York on the New Jersey side. Because we have more affordable homes here. We have, low crime. We have good schools. So I think that, people are saying, hey, you know what, we can leave New York, go to New Jersey, save ourselves money, be safer, have better schools for our children. And, we've definitely seen an influx, come here. So a lot of the people going into New York are, like you mentioned, I think a lot of it has to do with these illegals that, because they created that, the sanctuary city there. So, the governors, like whether it's Texas shipping the bus loads and stuff to New York, and they're putting them up in hotels, and that costs a lot of money, each day, feeding them the whole 9 yards. So I think that's a lot of the reason why you may see that spike. And I always, you have to ask yourself why, if you're a Democrat, why, how does it benefit the United States having open borders, not being energy, independent, having, these illegals in here, catering to criminals? I mean, none of these things that any sane person would say are good for any country or any community. So, their agenda is all about their votes, right? They like to control these people because these are the people that will vote for them. It's the same reason why they are so hell-bent behind dividing us, right? Whether it's about racism, homosexuality, religion,
you hit the nail on the head. It's all about control.
Yep.
These people are dependent on them and they control them.
Exactly.
But it's interesting, I've read a couple of news stories this week about where these immigrants are now. They've got this big tent city set up in New York. And a lot of them are saying, no, we're not going there. They're biting the hand that's feeding them at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a lot of these Democrat cities are like that. I mean, they're, like you said, there's tents over, they're full of these, illegal aliens that are, they're committing crimes. It's become a problem in most of our blue states and blue cities where they're overrun by these types of people. And, They, instead of, funding the police, they look to defund the police and, oh, you know what, like, it's okay. They only stole a certain amount of dollars worth of goods, so let them be. I mean, none of these things, like if you study society, if you study like how you build a society in a developing country, none of the things that we see going on in our country would you recommend for a developing country to do in order to have law and order and to, develop their economy and to develop, safe communities, good education systems. I mean, it's just nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe there's places where they go, well, if they didn't steal over $900, we're not coming. That's too small a crime for us to fool with. Well, it's not too small for me as Joe citizen.
Yeah.
Because that's $900 out of my pocket.
Exactly.
And I can't afford to give away $900 every day.
No, absolutely not. And I tell some of our residents here in Stanhope, like, we've all heard about trickle down in economics. Well, we're seeing kind of a negative version of that in the sense of the bad policies that are being set by like Biden, his administration, and at the federal level trickle down and hurt the states and in turn hurt our counties, hurt our cities, our municipalities. I look at things like just our trash collection, right? Our trash collection here in Stanhope since Biden came in is going up 100% because of, the higher fuel costs and the higher, everything else, the supply chain issues that we've all been experiencing. It's just all of these things end up impacting people like you and I who live in small communities. Our taxes go up, and not because we're giving more services or doing, things for our community. We're having to pay because of decisions that are being made by people who really don't care about America.
Wait till the supply chains issues come up again, and they will very soon, starting in California, when they go to the electric trucks.
Yeah.
Imagine trying to get food from the farm to the cold storage vendor who's going to process the farm products and get them to the stores and fresh, when you won't be able to do that with an electric truck. You're not going to get any fresh food in New Jersey. You won't get any fresh vegetables from Florida or South Georgia in New Jersey ever again.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I mean, we've seen it like just, I'm also on the volunteer fire department, just to kind of give you an idea of some of the supply chain issues that has nothing to do with agriculture. When we placed an order for me to get new gear that I needed, it was placed back in February of 2023, and I just received it a few weeks ago. So, I mean, and this is stuff that's made in our own country that we're not importing, right, from, a different country. So, but I agree with you, like these electric vehicles and stuff and all of the, the everything they're banking on, within New Jersey. I don't know if you read anything in the news, but one of the big things that happened recently was the one organization that was working with the windmills, like the offshore windmills that, our governor had backed and stuff. Like they basically pulled out. And this is after that project was subsidized with $1 billion of taxpayer money. It's still, they still couldn't do it profitable, to cover their costs. And, they basically pulled out of that. And, when you look at energy sources, right? I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that, solar and wind, sure, they are capable of producing energy, but nowhere near as efficiently as, say, nuclear energy is, right? So our nuclear power plants. But I was reading today that,
but they're shutting down our nuclear plants.
Exactly.
At the same time they're closing down everything else, they're closing down the nuclear plants.
Exactly. And you know what, Timo, the thing that's interesting is that when you look at, there's 12 states in the United States that won't allow them to build new nuclear facilities. And it's all the ones you'd expect: New Jersey, New York, California, Massachusetts, Illinois, like all of the usual suspects are. So it's the same type of thing. Like whether it's these states or the people at the federal level that really, I can't even call them, Americans. I think that they're mostly socialists at this point, very close to being full blown communists, but they really don't care about our country. They don't care about their state. So I'm hoping that people, truly wake up at some point, and they got to start at the grassroots level and, do what you can do within your communities. Get involved, then boil it up to the county level, the state level, and take back our country, one step at a time.
It's funny. I was reading today about some things John Lovitz, the comedian, if you recall him,
Yep.
he had to say today about AOC and some of those people. And he said, she comes on TV and she talks about people not wanting to have kids because of climate change. And so, what kind of sense does that make?
Yeah.
So you're gonna not have kids, and so everybody else is gonna die off, and then you're gonna have this clean air and nobody to breathe. So what sense does that make? You have this wonderful planet and nobody lived on it because everybody dies off because you had no kids.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's obviously, we don't want to destroy our environment. That wouldn't make any sense. But I think that there's a difference between being cognizant, and respecting our environment versus this craziness that they're, trying to boil everything behind. And it just doesn't make any sense. And, when we do have things that are capable of producing energy, like we talked about nuclear, I mean, a nuclear power plant, small one, could power, easily 20,000 residents, if not more. And we're talking small scale, not nothing on the bigger scale. So it's a bunch of nonsense. It's just another thing, like I said, that they use, like similar to the race card, to, the whole transphobic thing. If you don't support their message, they label you as a homophobic, a transphobic, a racist, or you don't respect the religion. I mean, I respect everybody, right? I don't care what you do with your personal time. I'm still going to respect you. Just don't condemn me if I don't believe the same things you do.
Yeah. Excuse me for being realistic, but
exactly,
that's what I'm going to be.
Yep.
And I've got one other thing I need to ask you, and I think I know what the answer is going to be. What's your reply when I say, "Go Army"?
No, go Navy. Go Navy, beat Army. That's always what I always tease my Army buddies about. Yeah, it's interesting, Timo. My whole family.
You're a Navy vet, and that's great.
Well, my whole family were Army guys. They were all Army in my family. So
in my house, it's all Army.
Yep.
Going way back.
Mine too. Like I kind of broke the mold and went into the Navy. So, but everyone prior to me, they were all Army as well. So they teased me a lot. And the one time, real quick, I went to the one Army Navy game years ago at the old Giant Stadium with my dad. And, in that particular game, Navy blew Army out. So I was like, see, I told you, Navy's the better team.
Well, generally that's true. But it's always a game I enjoy watching. I don't care how good either team's doing that year. It's a great game to watch. I love the Army-Navy game.
Me too.
And, here it is coming up Thanksgiving, which is a great time because it's rivalry week. This is the week where all the big rivalries get played.
Yep.
And me being a college football nut, I'm in nirvana. I've got a turkey high going on. I'm lazing out couch potato and watching football, and I love it. I'm in heaven.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah, it's a great time of the year to, celebrate the holiday with the family. Just take a few days, relax. Football's a big part of the tradition as well. And whether it's the NFL and, or I like college better than the NFL myself, but it's a good week for college football. And it's just a good time in America to go back and celebrate, what it is to, our family roots and be together and just, have a good time and relax.
Well, I want you and your family to have a great Thanksgiving. And,
You too.
With all that's recently happened for you in your life, being elected mayor in your town and Stanhope, I think that there are signs that there is plenty to be thankful for in America this
Absolutely.
year.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt that it's hard to find, and if you want to look, you'll find lots of negative things out there, but there are signs of hope.
Yes.
And I think we need to be thankful that we're not in worse shape than we are.
Absolutely. Yeah. Gratitude is something we all, sometimes overlook because, like you said, there's definitely challenges and bad things, but we do have a lot to celebrate and to be thankful for. I completely agree.
I'm glad to have you on tonight. I was really excited to know I was going to get to have you on because I love seeing a small town guy win big. I just love it.
Absolutely. I was happy to come on, and if you guys would ever want me to come on in the future, just let me know. I'd be happy to come on again and talk to you.
No, absolutely. If you ever have a message you need to share or want to share with us, you've got a platform.
Awesome.
And it's a free speech zone here. I don't stop anybody from saying whatever's on their mind.
Good.
Sometimes that can be ugly, but most of the time it's pretty good. I expect one. I won't know that I've really made it as a talk show until the government tries to shut me down. So far,
exactly.
I'm not glasses, so I'm doing okay.
No, that's good. We need, things like your show here. And like you said, it's an opportunity just to have a good conversation with another, fellow patriot and, to get the good word out there. So, I'm glad that you're doing this, and I want to wish you all the luck and continued success.
Well, I appreciate it. And I appreciate you coming on. And I
Absolutely.
really am proud for you. And I hope you have very much success in your town. All 3,500 people.
That's right. Thank you so much.
I'm just surprised that there's a town that small in New Jersey.
Yeah, we have a few of them.
But I think it's great. I mean, if I was a New Yorker, I'd be in your town like quick.
Yeah, like I said, we're getting a lot.
Because I can't see any reason to stay in New York if you're in New York. I mean, I just can't. And I used to go to, even though I'm a Southerner, I used to go to New York quite often. I spent a lot of time in Manhattan and New York City. When I was with my family's business, I was a piece goods buyer. I was buying fabric for our factory. We made men's clothing, suits, and sport coats. And so I was always up there at Burlington House and other places buying piece goods. And so I got very familiar with New York City. And I've seen it when it was good and I've seen it when it was bad. And right now, I can't see any reason why anybody would want to be there as a business. It's the most unfriendly business environment in the country.
Yep, it is. It's definitely one of the top ones. There's others, but New York is definitely number one, if not, top three for sure.
Yeah, it used to be very prestigious to be located there, but I can't see the prestige being worth that kind of money anymore.
No, I agree. It's terrible too because it has a lot of history. It was kind of like the business capital of the world. You know what I mean? And it's a shame to see how far it's fallen. And hopefully, I'm going to remain optimistic and hope that like everything else in our country, that it finds its return to grace at some point.
It will. Yeah, it's like college football. It goes in cycles. New
Yeah,
Yorkers will wake up and they'll fix their situation.
I agree.
You know,
Definitely.
but it's I don't think that you can kill New York. It's a special place.
Yep.
And I think that it will continue to produce people somewhere or that are going to come along and improve it.
I agree.
And get it back to where it needs to be.
Yep.
But in the meantime, I'd stay in Stanhope and enjoy myself.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely. If you ever come up here, let me know. We can go out and have a nice drink and continue our conversation. So if you ever come up north, just give me a holler.
well, I'll try. I'll do that definitely if I ever get up that way. But my traveling days are finished pretty much, and I try not to ever venture north of the Mason-Dixon line if I can help it. I don't want to get caught up there anyway.
I hear you. All right, Tim, I'm going to run. So unless you have any other questions, I appreciate you having me on your show. It's been a good experience, and I'm very thankful for what you're doing. And, if you have any other questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. But otherwise, I'll wish you a good night and a happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you, Gene. Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate you.
My pleasure, guys. I like I said, anytime you want me to come on, I'm happy to come on and talk to you about anything. So thanks again. Thanks for all you're doing. God bless you, and happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, Gene. Hope you and your family do well. And
you too.
I hope you don't overeat, but I plan to.
Yeah, I will. I probably will myself. So. All right, guys. Take care. Have a good one.
Good night.
Bye now.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I've never been impressed with Jim Harbaugh.
No, he's not.
He might be, but I've never been impressed.
Oh.
Well, you don't want to win bad enough. Yeah. So I normally wouldn't pull for Ohio State. I've always been a Southern boy, so I don't really cotton to Ohio State. But in this case, I think Ohio State takes the game. Yeah, I think they take the game. It's always a great game. I love rivalry week. I do. There's always great games, and there's always surprises. There's always a surprise. Yes, absolutely. I think he'll make a fine mayor for Stanhope. I sure do. I like. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's a Navy guy, so there's that. But on the other hand, other than being a Navy guy, he's great. And if that's the worst complaint I can make on somebody, they're super. No, I think he's handling things the right way. He's got a small town. He wants to run it like a small town, and he wants to be available to the people, and so they've got free access to him, and I think that's great. Small towns are great, and I think that when you can just stop by the city hall and poke your head in the mayor's office and say hello or speak about something that's on your mind or talk about your trash collection or whatever, that makes the citizens happy. And, yeah, you need that kind of communication with the people. And, he's all about governing for his town, and he's wanting to keep taxes low. And he's all about fighting crime. He's a firefighter, so he's when he's not running the town, he's out saving houses. So that's great. How can you get any better than that? All I know is that maybe in Georgia we're going to get something figured out about our elections, which is good news. Even now, we've got liberal judges down here saying that we're not conspiracy theorists for saying there's a problem with these voting machines and the election was crooked. It was as dirty as a dog. Everybody's known it. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the problem with these vote machines is you got a computer screen, you touch screen that you vote on, and you touch the screen, and then it prints out your ballot, and you can look at it, and it says you voted for Trump and you voted for this guy and that guy, and it looks correct. But then at the bottom there's this big barcode that you can't read the barcode. And that's what the tabulator, when you put it in the tabulator, that's what the tabulator reads is the barcode. It doesn't read the Trump and it doesn't read anything else, but you don't have any idea whether your vote was properly counted or not. It's a scam. And they know that these things are connected to the internet when they're not supposed to be because it's been proven that they are. So because never trust the government, ever. And I got new news for you. Today, there's a new pneumonia disease going around in China. So how long is it going to be before it strikes here? They're closing probably 6 months just for the next election so that they can start trying to get mail-in ballot boxes around town, and they can have all these fake boxes to drop votes in. Never trust the government. And go Vols, beat Vandy.
Thank you, gentlemen. You did. You had a nice show.
Good luck this weekend. I hope Ohio